Hi, I'm Nikki.
And I'm Megan.
Welcome to the Grimdark Diaries.
We're your geek gal pals obsessed with true crime and all things dark and disturbing.
Hi, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode. We are 2 days away from doing our live show, but when this comes out, it will be a week after. How are you feeling, Megan? You excited?
I am excited and nervous at the same time.
You're nervous? Why are you nervous?
I know, you're literally doing the whole thing. I know, honestly, you're going to do great, as you always do. I have no doubt. This is why we put you in charge. I just have to sit there and try to figure it out. But yeah, I don't know. I had a look at the schedule and saw that there were like 70 people that were signed up to
I think there's like 80 now.
Really? Oh my god.
Yeah, and that's people that just signed up with the
Right.
app. People still attend because there's like a couple thousand people there.
Yeah, and I didn't see a whole lot else happening at the same time as our show, so it would be like
there's
the
some
thing
stuff
to
happening
do.
at 6, so that
Right.
would maybe interfere.
Right. So that's fun and interesting, and I'm very excited, and I hope everybody likes it. Yay.
No, put some more positive energy into the universe.
Everybody's going to love it.
You know that everyone is going to love it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That's how we speak here.
Yes.
That's how you make affirmations.
Positive affirmations. That's right.
Yeah. That's how you do witchcraft. You say stuff. You don't say, oh, I hope this happens or I wish this happens. You say, this is going to happen.
Speak it into existence.
I am going to perform great.
Perfect. Love that. Yes, I will do that. And I've also heard the superhero pose helps too. You stand there with your feet shoulder width apart and your hands on your hips and your shoulders back, and you just stand there. And that
I learned that in
confidence.
Grey's Anatomy.
Did you actually?
Yeah, one of the surgeons said that before they go into surgery, they do that.
I learned that when I worked in real estate and they were doing courses on how to be confident in yourself and your abilities, because obviously in real estate, you got to sell. So it was a big thing there.
In this market, you just got to show up.
Apparently now, yeah. It's a little different back in the day, but yeah, nowadays you just show up, put your house in the market, and apparently it's gone. Gonzos.
Have you done, now that there's only 1 week left in October, have you done anything for spooky season?
It's funny because we were chatting today at work with my team and we were talking about, so we have a little contest going on at work for a costume contest. So teams are dressing up and taking a picture, and then I guess at the end of it, we're all I didn't actually read the sign, so I don't know if there's a prize or not, but all I saw was that there was a contest happening, and our team was talking today, and we are going to do a Star Wars theme. Everybody has a different character that they're going to be, and they had already chosen all their characters before they got to me, so I am just going to bring in my Mando helmet and be a Mandalorian for the day.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I'm excited, actually. I'm like, I kind of wish I had the rest of the armor made, but unfortunately I do not yet. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna just bring my helmet in and be a Mando for the day. I'm really excited to actually show off my helmet that Vinzer Flynn made for us. Me.
Us.
I don't know why I said us.
I made my own damn helmet.
You did make your own helmet, yeah. He's made
She's
many,
looking a little worse
many
for wear.
other helmets though, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Love his work.
Well, that's lovely.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. We'll let you know if we win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. Anything going on at your work? You're not even in your office at all.
I don't go into an office, so I will be celebrating Halloween in my... Actually, you know what? I don't work on Halloween. I have Monday off.
Oh, that's exciting. How come?
Yes.
Did you take it off?
Because I took a vacation day.
Perfect.
But they certainly didn't give it to me.
I was going to say, what kind of U.S. holiday is it?
Yeah, no. I used a vacation day, and if I was going to run out of vacation days, I was going to use a personal day because you can use those for religious reasons.
Oh,
and
that's fair.
I'm pagan.
Yeah.
And so that Samhain is a very important holiday.
Absolutely.
So, but I had a vacation day left, so I used it. So I'm off on Monday.
Are you going to do anything fun?
Well, I'm going to be in my skeleton. I bought my husband and I matching skeleton PJs.
I love
and they glow in the dark.
Oh my!
They're pretty cute.
I love it. You should have like black lights at your front door, so when you open the front door, they glow like with the UV light.
Yeah, well, we just have to be in the light, any light, and then when we step into the dark, it glows like crazy. It's high quality glow.
I'm so excited.
I think for Halloween, because we're gonna give out candy, because I love seeing kids in costume.
Yeah,
I'm probably gonna paint our faces like skeletons. My husband doesn't know this yet, but I'm probably gonna do comfy skeletons during the day, and then in the evening painted scary skeleton faces to hand out candy, because we love seeing kids. Although I saw the forecast now, it says it's supposed to rain again, and I'm upset about that, because
it might change.
There's not as many kids and they all have just their rain jackets on.
That's true too. Listen, I remember so many Halloweens as a child having to put my costume on top of my snowsuit.
Oh, yeah. We always put our costume over a jacket, for sure. My mom always made sure to make them big enough to go over a jacket.
Yeah. You never know when you're going to... I remember having snow on the ground. I don't remember... That was in New Brunswick, though, so it was a little bit different. Yeah, we were in like a valley in New Brunswick, and we used to get a lot of snow. Like, we basically had 4+ seasons. And by plus, I mean like winter sometimes started in October.
Oh my goodness.
Pretty wild. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't rain. I mean, the weather here changes so frequently, and
literally
it could be one forecast in the morning and then change by the afternoon even. So
yeah, I was always really jealous when I watched TV and movies of other places where kids just got to wear their costumes outside every day because it's warm where you live.
Right. Anywhere south of the border.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you never see that in TV and movies. You can tell they're never Canadian Halloween time, because everybody's just in their costumes. No.
Yeah, every time I watch
underneath.
Hocus Pocus, it's the same thing, because they have a lot of like kids running around on Halloween, and they're like, you know, short sleeve shirts or tank tops.
Yeah, and I don't believe, because that happens, isn't that town? It's down in Salem, and it's cold down there. That's not that far from us.
I don't actually know where, like on the map it is. I know it's
Salem, Massachusetts.
I know it's in Massachusetts, but I don't know where on the I know it's on the East Coast somewhere, but I don't know. Is it above Virginia or below?
Oh, I don't know that.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. So it's
Do you know
funny.
how many states there are?
When I was 15 or 16, I was going to, I think it was 15, with my dad and stepmom and stepbrother. We drove down to Florida to go to Disney World. And it was March. It was March break. And we drove down, and you could see like where it would start getting warmer, because and I think it was in Virginia where it finally turned from snow to green grass. And then the rest of the way was just gorgeous weather the whole way. It was beautiful. I loved it. So I think that anything above Virginia, that's like my line now for March, like middle of the winter. Yeah, that
15?
one time, absolutely. Nothing has changed since I was 15 years old. That's just where it is in my brain. It's the only scientific evidence I have up here right now.
I don't think that's scientific. I think that's anecdotal.
Something that I've seen with my own eyes, I'll say. Yeah, so I'm not sure where Massachusetts is, but I don't know if it's equivalent to Canadian Octobers or not.
I don't think it'd be as cold as here, but it's not warm.
That's fair. It's also just a movie, so who knows?
That's what I mean. That's what I said. The movie's a lie.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, since we're talking about Halloween, why don't we get into our last spooky season story of the year, even though this is now being played in November. We are still in October, and that's why we get to do this.
Yeah.
It's not Halloween here yet, so. This one is quite far in the past. So we're going to touch the stones of Craignadoon and travel back in time to the 16th century. You won't get that reference because you haven't watched Outlander yet. You do know that reference.
I watched 2 episodes.
Oh, okay. That's right. Yeah.
The first year it came out.
Yes, that's right. I almost forgot that just because you haven't seen any of the new stuff. So those stones are in Scotland, which is great. And I just wanted to talk about Scotland and Outlander for a moment. So we're going to move on. This story is actually in Western Europe. Actually, it was in the Kingdom of England. This is going to be the tragic story of a woman named Anne Boleyn. The War of Roses had ended in 1487, and the kingdom was finally settling under the power of the Tudors family. The Tudors preferred to surround themselves with those who were viewed as intelligent people and ambitious in life, more so than those who were of noble birth or considered to be prestigious. And because of this, the Boleyn family were on the rise. Anne was born somewhere around the 1500 mark, like the year 1500. Of course, as we know, historical data is quite fuzzy from over 500 years ago. Her father was Thomas Boleyn. For work, he was a diplomat in the court of King Henry VIII. So he was a diplomat of the court of King Henry VIII, and a very successful one at that. He was so successful, in fact, that his daughter Anne was offered a place in the court of the Duchess of Savoy in the south of France. I'm guessing she was pretty young when she went, because she was offered this in around the year 1513. So if she was born in 1500, then she would have only been about 13 years old. She was offered a place in the court of Louis XII of France, serving his wife, Queen Mary, and then his daughter, Queen Claude, after his death in 1515. So while Anne was living there, she was able to learn French. She was fluent in French. She loved living there because it really appealed to her sense and love of fashion, art, music, and religious philosophy. Another thing that Anne had learned to master while she was there was the art of courtly love.
Can I please have your definition of courtly love?
Certainly. Courtney. No, it's not Courtney. Courtney love. No, it's not Courtney.
Oh, Freudian slip.
Whoops. No, courtly love. If you don't know, it's a medieval tradition of love between a knight and a married noblewoman. First developed by the poets and musicians around that time in southern France and extensively used in European literature. Unfortunately, the court did not think too highly of the courtly love, which mostly centered around romantic relationships of unmarried people. There was usually flirtation, dancing, and chivalry.
Okay, wait now. They didn't like them because it was romantic relationships of unmarried people, but isn't that the only... Shouldn't that happen?
Yes.
So that you can then get married? You got to have one before the other.
I think what it
I
means
guess not in that time.
By that statement is more, like romantic relationships of like somebody of noble birth and somebody in the court, like a knight or a nobleman or whatever the case may be. I don't know. It seemed to be it. I think what
arranged marriages for everybody.
Right. I feel like it was more so that. So they didn't like the flirtation.
Oh, so you think it's the status, not that they were single.
Right. Exactly. So the dancing, the chivalry, behind closed doors, the occasional bit of fornication and adultery.
Are you writing a thesis? That's what we're calling it now. Fornication.
This was a part of the definition of courtly love. I needed to look it up because I didn't know what it was either.
Oh, I knew what it was. I was just seeing if you did.
Oh, I actually didn't know. So it was interesting. Actually, when I looked it up and I was Googling it, a ton of pictures popped up that I actually used to have, like framed pictures hanging in my wall when I lived in
people
Calgary.
Fornicating?
No. I mean, yeah. No. No, like old medieval Renaissance photos of women in long dresses, and basically you could tell they might have been flirting with like a knight or something like that. I loved old
they were showing
medieval Renaissance photos. Yes. Yeah, showing a little ankle skin there. So Anne finally took her place in the court of King Henry VIII, and Queen Catherine in 1522. So she would have been roughly 22 years old. Anne was described as being witty, charming, and graceful, as well as having an eye for fashion. She could also hold her own in a game of cards or dice. She also gambled, and she could hold her own alcohol. She could hold her alcohol, not own. Because of this, she ended up becoming one of the most popular women at court. She was drawing attention from everyone around her, including King Henry VIII. Now, one thing that is important to mention here is something called the King's Great Matter. This is something you can look up to find more information about, but basically it was the euphemism used by those around King Henry VIII for his endless effort to get a legal divorce from Queen Catherine. This way he could marry someone else who would be able to provide him with a legal heir. So after over a decade of marriage, Queen Catherine still had not produced a male heir. And unfortunately, this wasn't due to a lack of trying. Sadly, she had suffered many miscarriages and stillbirths. She even lost a son to cot death. She had given birth to a healthy daughter, Princess Mary. However, apparently the last time a woman was the heir to the throne was back in the 1100s. And apparently that one sparked a civil war. I don't know why. I didn't look that one up, but I'm intrigued.
Because she was a woman.
Apparently. Women can't rule.
I've been watching House of Dragon. I know what's up.
I actually have to catch up on that. I still haven't seen past episode 2.
Oh my goodness. You got to catch up. That show is good. They just did the season finale.
That was what I was waiting for because I am a binger. I need to binge the show. I can't just watch episode week after week. I always forget what happened so that I have to like rewatch the episode before and then start the new one. And that gets tiresome after a while.
You've been spoiled by the current times.
Yeah, it's so true. I really have. I also don't have a whole lot of time. So if I have like a day off, I just binge a show, which is why I'm so far behind on every single show you've ever mentioned to me and nothing else I've been able to watch. So King Henry tried to see what he could do about possibly getting an annulment from his marriage from the Pope. He said that God was punishing him by not giving him a male heir because he married his brother's widow, which was Catherine, and apparently that was considered incest under canonical law.
I'm not even going to touch that.
I know. Yeah, we're going to just move right on past that. King Henry's brother, Arthur, had passed away only a few months after his marriage to Catherine. She swore that the marriage was never consummated, and that is the only reason she was able to marry King Henry after Arthur passed away. It's also important to make note here that while he was searching to get an annulment with Catherine, was also around the same time that he met Anne. Of course, this is just speculation. We have no idea if he wanted an annulment because he was infatuated with Anne or if he just wanted to have a male heir to the throne. My guess is a little from column A, a little from column B. And like we said earlier, Anne was very clever, and she knew that with the right moves, she could take her spot as queen beside King Henry. She told Henry she would never be a mistress to him because she didn't want to be perceived as one, and then told him that if he wanted to be with her physically, then he would have to wait until marriage. Henry immediately started the process of trying to see how he could get an annulment from Queen Catherine. In order to get a proper annulment, he had to break away from the Pope. So while Henry was going through this process, Anne was playing very coy with him, playing her little game of courtly love that she had mastered.
I'm confused. What do you mean break away from the Pope?
He had to go through a process of, what was it called? It was the King's Great Matter. If I remember correctly from the story, which of course I didn't write down, the Pope wouldn't give him an annulment, so he needed to break away from the Pope and basically...
As in like do it without the Pope's blessing?
Yeah, he took over the church and basically became the leader of the church so he could make his own rules about that, and he was able to get the annulment from Queen Catherine. I don't know, it's 1522, you make up your own rules apparently.
Apparently.
So when King Henry would send Anne love letters, she would just ignore them. But whenever he got agitated that she wasn't responding to him, she would just flutter her sparkling eyes at him and whisper sweet nothings into his ear. So she kept him coming back, but also blowing him off when things got too involved. I guess she just wanted to make sure he still wanted her, or whatever the case may be. She was really good at what she does, obviously. He continued to send her gifts, and he even exiled his ex-wife Catherine to a far-off, dilapidated castle that had no influence or power, just to keep Anne content. Finally, 7 years later, in November 1532, King Henry and Anne Boleyn got married in secret. I don't know why they got married in secret. It never said in any of the articles I read. They had a more formal wedding affair in January 1533. Not sure why they had to do that in secret 2 months earlier, but anyway.
Maybe because they wanted to do it, and the only way they could do it if they were married, and they couldn't arrange a big to-do in time.
True.
So they were like, call the white-collared man.
Right.
We're getting this done right now. It's like the equivalent of when somebody goes to Vegas just to get married.
Right. Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's probably what they did. They just got married in Vegas. So they got married, a more formal affair, in January 1533. And then that summer, with a baby in her belly, Anne was officially crowned queen. That fall in September, Princess Elizabeth was born. Unfortunately...
It's a solid name.
Mm-hmm.
It's my middle name.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm like, yeah, that's the name of the queen who
It's a great name. It's a strong name.
Yes, it is a strong name. It is a very strong name. It's a very old historical name.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately for the king, though, this was not the son that he was hoping for. They were still hopeful, though. Like, Anne was still young, so they just kept trying for more babies to join the family, and one of them was sure to be a son, right? Over time, it became more clear, though, that Anne was not exactly the type of woman who would be able to master the role of that Renaissance queen consort. She continued to be as outgoing, zero-filtered, continued reading banned books, and completely ill-tempered and volatile. She was loud about King Henry's infidelity, and unfortunately for her, King Henry began to resent her for it. We can complain about infidelity, but apparently when you're a king, that doesn't matter. Once King Henry had veered away from the Pope, and after he had all but spent every single dime that his father had, and those before him, had amassed on his wild parties when he was younger, he didn't know how else to handle things, so demanded that a bunch of the money from the church was to be given back to the crown. He commanded that monasteries were destroyed and those who were heretics were executed. Because of this, it was noticed by those close to the king, and it was hard to ignore that this was likely all due to Queen Anne, who they had considered to be the outspoken Protestant and the king's concubine, quote unquote. Apparently, the court all considered her to be a witch and seductress that was responsible for the king disowning his daughter, whom he had with Queen Catherine. There was even a rumor going around that said that Anne was trying to coerce Henry to have Catherine and Mary executed. But that's just a rumor. Who knows if that's true or not. Not long after this, in early 1536, Catherine passed away. Also during this time, Anne unfortunately had suffered miscarriages and stillbirths. Catherine's death meant that it would be much easier for Henry to set aside Anne. Since Anne had many enemies and alienated all of her allies, plenty of people were ready to help Henry make sure that she was going to go away. Her last hope of happiness and safety was the fact that she had gotten pregnant again in 1536. But it would ultimately cause her luck to change from bad to worse. Some speculated about what may have caused the miscarriage to happen, so it may have been due to the stress of the king almost dying. He had fallen from a horse and almost died, so it could be stress from that. or it may have been due to an incident where Anne found her lady-in-waiting, Jane Seymour, sitting on King Henry's lap, which obviously sent Anne into a fit of rage. But regardless of the cause, she had miscarried a boy. The ambassador of the Holy Roman Empire said that she had miscarried her quote-unquote savior. And from what happens next in this story, he was not wrong. Henry and Anne grew further and further apart. He was basically already making plans to get rid of her so that he could marry her lady-in-waiting, Jane Seymour. Jane also told King Henry that she refused to go to bed with him without a ring on that finger. Anne rightfully was getting very suspicious and paranoid, but was trying to keep herself busy with charity work and whatnot so she could try to save face. But suddenly there was an investigation into her conduct. Evidence was gathered to arrest her on charges of adultery and treason. This was an easy thing to charge her for because it was no secret that Anne loved to flirt. She was still into the courtly love after being with King Henry, but more so just to be flirtatious and whatever. She probably never did actually take anything as far as being adulterous, though. It's also easy to accuse her of treason because Anne and King Henry used to fight in public quite often. At that time, even the tiniest inkling of threatening the life of the king was considered treasonous. So on May 2nd, 1536, she was arrested and taken to the Tower of London to await her trial. Only 13 days later, on May 15th, Anne went to trial. Those who went to watch said that she held on to her dignity throughout the entire trial. Some assumed that her hope had been that her innocence would shine through and she would get off scot-free. Unfortunately, that would not be the case. She was accused of having affairs with 5 men. Court musician Mark Smeaton, Sir Francis Weston, Sir William Brereton, Sir Henry Norris, and her brother, George Boleyn. Of course, these men were only rumored to have been her lovers, and those rumors were started by Anne's enemies. People who did not like Anne and wanted her to be seen the same way they saw her, which was as an evil witch who participated in incestuous acts and had bewitched their king. During the trial, only one of these 5 men actually admitted to sleeping with Anne, and that was Mark Smeaton, and he was the one person who was a commoner out of the bunch. Usually someone in that time accused of adultery was exiled to a convent somewhere. Anne, however, was the queen, so it's treated a little bit differently for them. Infidelity by a queen could call the succession into question. So for this reason, a queen having an affair against the king was considered treason. And to add icing to the cake, Anne was also being accused of plotting for the king's death so she could marry Sir Henry Norris. So that basically solidified a treason conviction. Anne, along with the 5 men also on trial, were found guilty of high treason and sentenced to death. So on May 19th, 1536, after giving a speech to the spectators at Tower Green, Anne Boleyn was executed by beheading only 4 days after her conviction. In her speech, she did not speak ill of the king, and those in attendance feel that was likely so her daughter Elizabeth would be saved from any persecution. Her final words were the repetition of the prayer, quote, "Jesus, receive my soul. O Lord God, have pity on my soul." End quote. One of Anne's few sympathizers, Archbishop Thomas Cranmer, was said to have been found crying. He was weeping for her on the day of her execution. He's quoted saying, "She who has been the Queen of England on earth will today become a queen in heaven." And not 2 weeks later, King Henry VIII was getting married to Jane Seymour. She was a conservative woman and was seen to be much better suited for the queen consort position. Any signs of Anne that were there 2 weeks prior were now wiped completely from the English court. The story of her life, however, continued through the court and served as a cautionary tale for all of her successors. In 1537, Jane Seymour gave birth to a son, Prince Edward. And a week later, Jane passed away and the king's great matter was over. But that is not the end of Anne's story. Since her death in 1536, her ghost has been seen and sensed in multiple locations around the UK. Even though she faced a lot of struggles in her life, she still had quite the impact on the country of England and prompted a lot of change for the better. Since her death was very traumatic and her life was often in turmoil, it's no surprise she decided to stick around. So here are a few places that Anne can be found even today. The Tower of London. So this is where Anne was beheaded, so it makes sense that this would be one of the places that she is said to haunt. One encounter story says that late one night, a guard saw a flickering light in the locked chapel royal. After feeling very uneasy, he decided to try and figure out where the light was coming from. He climbed up a ladder and was met with a procession of knights and ladies dressed in ancient costumes pacing up and down the chapel. He scoured the room and noticed that their leader looked like the spitting image of Anne Boleyn. After a couple of minutes, the procession came to an end, and everything just disappeared. Another instance was in 1864 when a soldier saw another sighting of Anne. He claimed that he decided to confront and challenge a lady in white. But after he was met with zero response, he plunged his bayonet straight through the figure when she disappeared.
He tried to stab a lady?
Apparently, when she didn't respond.
That's not how that works. Don't do that. Nobody do that. If somebody doesn't answer you, don't stab them.
Literally.
Maybe she had some AirPods in.
1864? Yeah, those are some ancient AirPods. Just rocks in her ears. He was visibly shaken and completely in shock. He searched around for anyone that could have seen what happened, and then he noticed an officer in the window who assured the soldier that he saw everything.
Bro should be happy that was a ghost. He almost just stabbed a lady.
Literally. Well, apparently it's normal procedure for if that somebody doesn't respond to them. They just stab them, apparently. In Windsor Castle. So this is the home of the late Queen Elizabeth II. And now I believe King Charles. I don't know where he lives now, but anyway. Anne has been seen on several occasions staring out of one of the castle's windows. She has also been seen and heard. This one freaks me out. She's also been seen and heard running down one of the corridors, clutching her head in her hand and screaming at the top of her lungs.
That's a rough one.
That's horrifying.
I wouldn't want to see that one at night alone.
Nope. I don't mind a little wave in the window, but if I saw somebody headless running at me and screaming at the top of her lungs in the castle, no thanks. I
would just pretend I'm in Hogwarts with nearly headless Nick.
Oh, yeah. Just have a great old conversation with him. I don't think you'd be able to do that with her. Maybe. I don't know. I like how they say like screaming at the top of her lungs, but literally like the screaming would be coming from the head, which is detached from the body.
It has no lungs. Physics don't matter when you're a ghost.
They absolutely do not. Hever Castle is another place. So a tourist who visited the childhood home of Anne spent the afternoon taking several photos throughout her home. Once he arrived home, he noticed that he captured a rather unsettling image of what he claimed was Anne's hand hovering over the left side of the picture and pointing towards the chimney. The tourist shared his photo with the world and stated, "In the prayer room, a fog or a mist was hovering around, but I didn't think much of it at the time. I felt like an unknown force was pulling me through the castle. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. It wasn't until 3 months after I realized what I had taken a picture of, and I believe there is something important historically inside the fireplace that she wanted me to recover. I didn't know what to make of it because I didn't believe in ghosts at this point, but I am now confident it is her. End quote.
How does he know from a hand?
I don't know. I saw the picture of the hand, and it is definitely a picture of a hand. It is a little.
It could be anybody's hand. I'm
translucent.
sure lots of people lived in that castle.
It's a little translucent. I don't know how. I mean, what? Didn't say what year.
I mean,
it
even
was.
if it's a ghost hand, I'm not even disputing that he saw a ghost hand. But how do you know it's her hand?
True. There were a lot of people who died in this castle, apparently.
And she didn't even die in that castle, so it could be anybody.
That's true too. I don't know what her history is in this castle, but
She grew up there.
oh, I literally said that.
Who's telling this story, me or you?
I know, honestly. Oh yeah, right. I said that she grew up there. Yeah. Yeah. So who knows? I don't know. This is not the first time Anne's ghost is said to have appeared. Every Christmas at Hever Castle, she is said to manifest beneath a big oak tree where she and Henry courted. Her ghost has also been seen walking across the bridge, which crosses over the River Eden within the castle grounds. And the last place that we're going to talk about that she haunts is called Blickling Hall. Anne has been seen arriving at the hall headless, with her hands clutching her head, seated on a carriage that was drawn by 4 horses and a headless horseman. I don't know why the horseman
they thestrals?
was headless. Maybe.
Bony ponies?
Bony ponies?
Bony ponies.
Oh, is that what you're calling thestrals?
Yeah.
I've never heard them called that before.
They're just horses made bones. Bony ponies.
It's hilarious. Took me a second, but I got it. Once Anne arrives, she is said to roam the hallways from dusk until dawn, still holding her head. It is said that the manifestation occurs every year on the date of her execution. So if you want to see this, head to Hever Castle on May 19th. Ghosts are known to haunt the places that are important or traumatic to them in life. This is possibly why people see Anne at Hever Castle and the Tower of London. Hever Castle was her childhood home, and she enjoyed many happy Christmases there. This quote, I got this from a site on Medium by Just Julie in her blog, and I just love this quote at the end, so I grabbed it. She said, I'll leave it to you to form your own opinions about the hauntings of Anne Boleyn. And if you ever find yourself in any of these places, be sure to be on the lookout for Anne, as she could be standing right behind you. I'm like, oh, it gave me a chill to read that.
Just look for a floating hand. And it'll be
It could be a floating hand pointing at a chimney, yeah. Or a headless body running towards you, screaming at the top of their detached lungs.
I mean, maybe the scream was coming out of their lungs and out of their neck, out of her neck,
God.
but her mouth was just open, you know?
I don't know. That image is actually hilarious. I don't know. You have to have like a vocal cord, and that's in your neck. What part of the neck?
Well, where did her head get chopped? Just under the chin?
You know what? That's a very good question. Where do heads get chopped when they're bad?
I mean, I don't think they had an exact science in
I don't know
the 1500s.
I'm not sure. I don't know that I want to think about it too long.
In TVs and movies and things like Game of Thrones, it's always just under the chin because you see the head roll, you know?
That's true. Yeah.
There's not like a whole neck attached to it. That would not roll the same.
No, it would not. You're right. I wonder, I don't know. That seems, is that through like a guillotine or through a...
You watched Game of Thrones.
Oh, they use
just
a sword.
Cut it off.
Yeah, they use a sword. I don't know how you'd get that precision though. This conversation. Anyway, that is the story of Anne Boleyn and her journey through many ups and downs in her life, and now apparently also in death. Can you imagine? I wonder if any of the Windsor family that lives in Windsor Castle has ever seen her. Like now.
Probably. I feel like if you live in a haunted castle, you're going to see ghosts.
Yeah. I want to go. I'm adding that to my list.
To Windsor Castle?
I'm going to go to all the places that I listed. And then some. I told you, I'm making a bucket list.
Are you really?
Leaf Castle. Leaf Castle's on it. I'm not going to remember. I have to write them down because then I'll forget if I don't.
You mean then you won't forget?
Then, sorry. Yes,
write it and forget it.
That is what I meant. As soon as it leaves my brain and put on paper, my brain no longer remembers any of it. My brain wouldn't remember any of it anyway, but let's be honest. But as soon as it's on paper, it can leave willingly. And I'd be okay with that because then I know I can reference back to my paper.
Yeah, Megan writes it down and then she has a brain cleansing.
Yeah, that's what it is. I have to write things down or I forget. I don't know why. I have to work out my brain. Do crossword puzzles.
What did you just say?
Work out my brain?
Oh, workout.
What'd you think?
I didn't know. I had no idea.
Ugh.
It kind of sounded like morgue out.
Oh, I did have a little bit to swallow, so maybe it just kind of...
That, not going to touch that sentence either.
Saliva. Anyway, the story.
Well, let me just pick up my die here.
Getting off the rails.
Back to rolling.
Yes, we are
We're
back to
spooky
rolling.
season. We're back to everyone's favorite, which is themes. Oh, lucky number 13.
Yeah.
I got the theme. I can't even. Which I like.
That's awesome. I don't even know what you would be finding a story on that about.
Something that I can't even.
Yeah. That will give you that natural reaction.
Exactly. And you know how much I love stories that do that anyway. So
that's true.
It's easy.
That's true.
Easy peasy.
Pick a normal
lemon
story
squeezy.
that you would have normally picked anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for joining us for another spooky season. It's my favorite season. I like it a lot. I wish spooky season was all year round. You know what? Somebody on the street next to me put up their damn Christmas lights and a Christmas tree in the window. And I've never in my life egged a house, but my desire to egg this house on Halloween is strong.
And it's Christmas lights because I've seen a lot of people putting up Halloween lights and Halloween trees this year.
They're blue, green, red, and white.
Oh.
And they have a Christmas tree up in the window with lights on it.
Oh, yeah, no, that is, to each their own, but don't showcase it to Nikki.
No, not before Halloween. No. I know people, trust me, I'm obsessed with Halloween, so I get that people are obsessed with Christmas, but you at least got to wait till one holiday finishes. At least wait till November 1st.
I usually wait until after Remembrance Day because in Canada, November 11th
That's
is
what they
Remembrance
say here.
Day. Yeah, so I usually wait until Remembrance Day is passed, which I guess would be very close to like the United States Thanksgiving because I think
they have Veterans Day on the same day.
Right? Yeah,
it's not
No, I meant Thanksgiving
and
the
stuff closes, but
yeah. So a lot of people argue that that I've seen in movies argue. That you wait until after Thanksgiving in the United States before you put up your decorations, which is, I think, mid or late November.
I can tell you exactly when it is. It is the last Thursday in November.
Oh,
because I have it off every year.
Right, I forgot. Yeah. I should have just asked you.
And that's my weekend where I always use a vacation day to take the Friday off, and then I go Black Friday shopping.
Black Friday, right. I actually forgot all about that. I don't know why. I forget about that every year. You talk about it.
And then I make my husband go out to dinner with me because it's my Thanksgiving. But I don't eat turkey, so.
Yes. You can have fake turkey. Beyond
I don't really want fake turkey.
Tofu. Have some tofu.
I love tofu.
Yeah, tofu is really yummy.
I don't really want it to taste like turkey, though. I'm not one of those people that stopped eating meat and now I want to eat fake meat. I don't want that. The only thing I eat, because then why wouldn't I just eat meat then? Is my thing. If I, you know what I mean?
I think it's for the people who miss the taste of meat but don't want to eat the meat because of their closeness with the animals thing. I don't actually know the terminology behind that, but
my thing was when I stopped eating meat, because first I did it for health reasons,
right? And
then it did turn into I don't want to eat animals, so I'm a vegetarian. However, seeing meat now grosses me out. Now I am turned off meat.
Really?
I watch people cook meat in all of its grease and fat.
Ew.
And I'm oh, that is so gross.
I mean, when you describe it like that.
like literally. So I had like quit meat. I became a vegetarian, and then we were, I think you were there. We were at D&D and at a friend's house, and you guys were all having tacos. I brought my own veggie lentil taco meat. And so there was a pan of ground hamburger on the stove in the friend's house where we were.
Yeah.
And it just had a lot of grease in it. You know what I mean? Like when you cook ground beef, and there can be, depending on if it's lean ground or medium or whatever, it just a lot of off greasing happens.
Yeah.
And I remember I walked in there, and at that point I didn't know if I was going to go back to eating meat because I was just trying it for a while to see if I felt better. And then I walked in and I saw taco meat just sitting in like centimeters of grease, and you guys were all scooping it onto taco shells with the grease, and I was like, no, I don't think I'm ever eating meat again. And I didn't.
I don't know. I kind of love taco grease.
Oh.
Oh man. I don't know. I love it. I know it's really, especially red meat is really bad for like cholesterol and stuff like that, but I don't know. I crave meat. I feel like I don't know if I'd ever be able to give it up.
To each their own.
Yep, that's right.
So anyway, you can find us on social media. Just search the Grim Dark Diaries. I went on a tirade about Christmas lights. That's how we got there.
That's weird. That's how we got onto meat. I don't know.
Even get me started. My brain is pretty mushy. You can follow us on social media. Just search the Grim Dark Diaries. You'll see us. We're pretty cute. We have a picture. It's our logo. It's graffiti on a pink and purple brick wall. I like it a lot. And then you can see pictures that Megan is going to post for this episode.
And the ghost hand.
And if you would like... What?
And the ghost hand. I have a picture
You're
of it.
going to see the ghost hand and weigh in on whose ghost hand that is.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'll tell, but let us know.
Do your own research.
Yeah.
Ghosts in that castle.
And if you would like to contact us or tell us about your spooky season, or tell us when you put your Christmas lights up, you can email us. We are thegrimdarkdiaries@gmail.com. And if you have an Apple podcast, it's always appreciated if you can give a 5-star rating and put a comment on the podcast, because that helps things. And other podcast things you listen on, you can subscribe and like, and on Spotify you can give 5 stars, and all that stuff makes us happy. And we really like it. And that's all I want for Christmas, is for you to do that. So please do that. And tune in next week to see what I come up with for I Can't Even. And remember, a friend in the dark beats alone in the light.